Here we are for our May edition of Let's Get Growing. Remember, we're busy, busy, busy bees, so let's get growing. All right, in May we still have several vegetables that you can plant, beets, cucumbers. Look at the list on the screen and remember to buy varieties that are designated for Texas, the north central Texas area. Now remember, now we can plant Caladium Tubers, and remember, take those bulbs and you'll see the little spikes. Those are going to be the new flowers. Pop those out and you'll get more, not flowers, but leaves, because we don't want blooms. If you see those spathe type blooms on your caladiums, pinch those off. We want flowers. I mean leaves, not flowers. So take the blooms off your Caladium tubers. There are many other things that we can plant, such as your warm season annuals and all your potted seedlings that you've been hanging on to. You're going to have to watch for every kind of pest because their time is now. And here's a list of things you're going to want to watch for. Conifers, watch for bagworms. Those are your evergreens. Fungus on your roses. Mildew on the crepe myrtles. White flies on gardenias and the ligustrum and your eowonimus. Aphids on the new growth of everything. Be sure to just wash those off, and you can use insecticidal soap for most of these. And last but not least, watch for those caterpillars on Boston ivy. And you can use BT, but let's be careful because BT will also kill our monarch butterflies that are coming through. So keep it off the milkweed and you won't be hurting your monarchs. Monarchs love dill, so if you could plant a few seeds of dill or buy a couple of plants, you too can help procreate our monarch species. Also in May, we've got many things we need to do in the landscape. So let's aerate our lawns. If you have compacted areas where people walk and the grass is not growing, we can air corify. We want to take a plug out, not just punch a hole. If you're punching a hole, then you're actually compacting the soil. Those little shoes that you wear with the spikes on them, don't waste your money. We're compacting the soil. Aerify by removing a core. You mulch everything in this hot weather. And remember, mowing once a week is going to keep those weeds down. Also keep code enforcement off your back. Spring blooming shrubs were beautiful, but after they bloom, remove those old buds, and remember they can be pruned now. Do not lift or remove the foliage on your daffodil bulbs until they have turned completely yellow so that the nutrients can return to the bulbs, so we'll have beautiful flowers next year. Just like in April, it's time to prune our spring blooming climbing roses after they bloom. And remember, you can remove at least a third of all those long canes. And then start pinching the top out of your chrysanthemums, and we're going to do that once a week until I tell you to stop. Today we're going to learn how to transplant orchids because everyone is scared to death of transplanting orchids. Usually we would wait until after this is finished blooming, but as you can see, I have a hard time getting this baby to stand up, so we're going to repot it. And we start out with sphagnum moss. And as you can see, it's very, very dry and not very malleable right now. So we've pre-moistened, just like your soil would be a little bit wet when you're repotting. And the first thing that we're going to do is step up into a ceramic container because these like air on the roots. And you can see that they really aren't too worried about being root bound. The reason that I'm repotting this is so that it'll stand up better. You could see it'll continue to put out roots no matter where it is. So if you're going to grow orchids, try to pick up the one with the wider leaves, and these will repeat for you. So what we're going to do is start out with our pre-moistened sphagnum moss. Put some of the pre-moistened sphagnum moss into the bottom of the container. And You see how I have this tag? Never ever lose these tags with the names on them, so you'll know what they are when they do not have blooms. And now we're going to remove the container. And if it doesn't come out when you first pull on it, just squeeze around and pull gently. And you can see, look how beautiful a root system it is. And this is just a fungus, and that means that it's growing well, because this is actually a fungus. Sphagnum moss grows in bogs. It's a moss, and then fungus is a moss, so we're putting it in a compatible potting medium. Now, I've got a little bit too much, so we just remove some. And return it to the container. And you'll notice that I'm not going to a much larger container. And I'm taking the moss and just kind of feeding it in between the existing root system and the container. And you just have to make sure that you're getting it in to the bottom so that we're filling those cracks and crevices. And another thing that can help you is just a standard little pen or pencil, and that can help you push it down in between the root and the container. So start out with your fingers and then compress, and you just kind of mash it in. It'll roll, and just continue turning. They're not as delicate as you think, but as you notice, I'm not really endangering or hurting the root system. And then at the very end, I'm going to go around and make sure that I've filled in around the edge. And you can see that I'm filling the little crack completely. And we're above the edge of the container, but this is what we want, so that we're making a breathable container. As you can see, we've successfully repotted this orchid, but I wanted to talk to you about staking the orchid. As you can see, we use these little orchid clips, and you can also use the little hair clips that you buy and use in your hair. And you just take them and carefully hook it to the stake, and it'll keep it nice and straight. As you can see, it's not going to fall over on me. Well, that's another edition of Let's Get Growing, and we want to thank the Summit Garden Club for inviting us into the conservatory, and you too can have a beautiful garden. So let's get growing.